Good afternoon, and thanks to all of you for being here. We are going to do exactly what our slide says. We're going to do a deeper dive into our agency priority goal today. I want to start off by thanking each of you for facilitating and or attending our initial meetings during the month of October as we review the foundations of our APG. I've heard really good feedback, and I'm looking forward to our next steps on the journey. I was in the CAC meeting last week, and typically when I do my introductory remarks for the CAC, I talk for about 15 to 20 minutes. I happened to mention APG during last week's CAC meeting, and I ended up talking for nearly 1 hour, responding to questions from our very motivated and very curious workforce around what the APG means, how this is going to impact our experience as employees here at PSA, and what this really means in the life of our agency. And I was really excited by that conversation, but it also said to me that we're ready to take our next steps into the journey. And what I think we've done is we have gained that initial foundational knowledge so that we're all kind of on a common understanding with respect to the three-legged stool and what we think the benefits of APG are going to be. But I think we're now ready to take that secondary deeper dive and begin to flesh out what this really means for us and how this will impact specific units and specific employees across the agency. So that's what we're going to do today. In addition to me having that experience in CAC, there were monitors at every session that was conducted across the agency. And those monitors were there to ensure uniformity in the conversation, but those monitors also recorded questions. And from those conversations, we were able to capture about 40 frequently asked questions that people had around our approach to APG. During today's conversation, I think I'm going to hit on about half of them. So I'll be able to cover about half of those, and then we will do a supplemental either publication or video that will walk through answers to the remaining 20 or so questions about the APG. So let's move forward for today. I think we've created some good momentum, and I really want to keep that going with today's conversation. So as I said before, what we've been doing at both last year's town hall and this year's town hall is really talking about the bottom portion of this pyramid, which is the foundation for our APG. As I talk today, I will be using the term APG. Hopefully everyone knows that that means Agency Priority Goal. And so we've done a lot of foundational work around our APG. We've talked about the three legs of our stool, that we're going to be refining our release recommendations, we're going to be having enhanced supervision protocols, and then lastly, we'll be modernizing our client management system. So those are what we refer to as the three legs of our stool. And then lastly, during our conversations on the team level, we've been able to talk about the general whys and hows of our approach. What we're going to get into today at a very high level is the next segment up on our pyramid, which are the details. And today we're going to talk about the impacts on specific units, and we're going to break down some of those more frequently asked questions. So my goal really is to provide some additional transparency in hopes that we can reduce some of the anxiety, I think, that comes along with the introduction of any change. What was apparent to me during the conversation in CAC is that as we explained things, people started nodding and people started asking additional questions to get to an additional level of comfort. So my goal is always to be as transparent as possible, to entertain every question, because what we really want to do is make sure that we're moving forward as a team and that we're really exploring even questions that may not seem obvious to us. We want to dig deep enough to at least answer those and hopefully be able to move forward as a collective team at all levels across PSA. So let's begin by doing just that. Let's start to take a look at some of the impacts on our teams. When we do our assessment and analysis of who we think is going to be most impacted by the work that we're doing around our APG, we think that the impacts will be felt along three primary lines. First, our diagnostic teams. Secondarily, our supervision teams. And then last, our specialty teams. And for purposes of this conversation, when I talk about specialty teams, I will specifically be talking about HISP, drug court, and SSU. Okay, so today we're going to try to cover the ground for the impacts on those three particular sets of teams. As I said, I will use the acronym APG to refer to the agency priority goal, but also as I'm talking, I will probably use the acronym RBS, and that is simply the shorthand for Risk Based Supervision. It just allows me to move through the slides more quickly. So APG, RBS, and last you'll probably hear me use the acronym CMS, simply refers to our client management system, what we today call PRISM, what we will call something different in the future, okay? APG, RBS, and then CMS. Those are the shorthands that I think I will be using for today.